Okay, picture this. It's May 7th, 2025. You wake up, the news is everywhere about Operation Sindoor, a really significant military operation, right?
Right, a name that immediately struck a chord across the country.
Exactly. And then, almost literally in the next breath, you hear this massive company, Reliance, tried to trademark that name.
Yeah.
It's just, well, it's a strange clash, isn't it? National pride meeting corporate ambition. It really makes you pause.
Oh, it's more than just a pause moment. It's quite revealing, actually. You had the Defense Ministry announcing Operation Sindoor, those retaliatory strikes,
Yeah.
after the awful Pahalgam attack where so many lives were lost.
Terrible tragedy. 25 Indian personnel, one Nepali citizen, April 22nd.
Yes, and the strikes happened the night of May 6th into the 7th. So there's this feeling of, okay, decisive action, maybe some national unity there.
Right.
And then this trademark news just lands right in the middle of it. Sort of throws everything into sharp focus, maybe not in a good way.
Absolutely. And the name itself, Operation Sindoor, it wasn't just, Operation Desert Fox or something technical.
No, not at all.
Sindoor. It's so loaded with meaning in our culture. Love, sacrifice, valor. It's deep.
Exactly. It connects on a very fundamental level.
So when the military used that name for the operation, hitting those terrorist bases as a direct response, it felt appropriate. Resolute, maybe? It resonated.
I think the choice of name was deliberate. It tapped into that national sentiment, made it feel like more than just a tactical move.
Which is why the trademark attempt felt so jarring, I suppose.
Precisely. The reaction was almost inevitable, given the context.
Okay, so let's break down this trademark tangle. May 7th, Reliance Industries, acting through Geo Studios, they filed to trademark Operation Sindoor. And not for, I don't know, merchandise or something unrelated. Class 41.
Right, Class 41. That's crucial. That covers entertainment, education, media, films, web series, documentaries, that sort of thing.
Which immediately suggests what they might have been thinking. But the speed of it,
Yeah.
that's what struck me. The military announcement had barely sunk in.
It was incredibly fast. The mod announcement was early morning. By, mid-morning, the application was in motion.
It suggests they were ready. Maybe even waiting.
It certainly suggests agility and perhaps an immediate recognition of the, let's call it, narrative potential.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting they weren't the only ones.
Right. That's a key point. It wasn't just Reliance. On that same day, May 7th, we also saw filings from a Mukesh Chetram Agrawal, a retired group captain, Kamal Singh Ober,
Okay.
and an Ala Kathari, all Class 41, all on the same day. The filings came in between, 10:42 a.m. and 6:27 p.m.?
So a real cluster of activity at the trademark office.
It paints a picture, doesn't it? Almost like a mini gold rush for the name.
It does seem that way.
Yeah.
Several people, individuals, and a major corporation all seeing the same potential in this highly emotive name, almost simultaneously.
But let's be honest, it was the Reliance filing that really lit the fuse, given their profile.
Absolutely. Their name carries weight, so their involvement instantly amplified the situation and triggered that huge public response.
And wow, what a response. Social media just erupted. You could feel the anger, the disbelief.
Yeah, it was palpable.
It felt like such a blatant, almost crass attempt to capitalize on something so serious. A moment of national, action and mourning, really.
People were saying things online. I remember seeing posts like, country at war, but business is business for Ambani.
Yeah.
Or variations on that theme.
Exactly. And the hashtag Operation Sindoor, suddenly wasn't just about the military op. It became linked to this feeling of corporate shame, almost.
The intensity was quite something. It wasn't just a few angry voices. It was widespread, ordinary citizens, activists. I even saw political groups like Congress Kerala weighing in.
Yeah, they did.
It clearly struck a very raw nerve across the board. This idea of monetizing soldiers' sacrifice, monetizing a symbol of national pride. It just didn't sit right.
I think that's the heart of it. Commodifying something people felt was, sacred in that moment. There was one post on X, I think it captured it well, something like, Reliance tried to trademark this for entertainment. They backed down after the outrage. Could they be any more shameless?
It's harsh language, but it reflected a genuine sense of betrayal, I think. It forces you to ask, where do we draw the line? What's off limits for commercial gain?
Which leads to the legal side. Apparently there's a bit of a gap in the Trademarks Act of 1999.
That's right. It's not like military operation names get automatic protection. There are grounds to reject trademarks if they're, say, scandalous or offensive.
Okay.
but there isn't a specific clause saying hands-off military op names. It creates this sort of gray
It just
area.
feels like a loophole almost. We've seen things like this before, haven't we? After Pulwama in 2019, people tried to trademark related terms.
Yes, things like Pulwama, the surgical strike, Hindustan Hamara High, even unrelated things like Parley apparently trademarking 2020 cookies during the T20 cricket boom. Companies look for these connections.
Right. But Operation Sindoor felt different. It hit harder. Why do you think that was?
I guess it goes back to the name itself. Sindoor. It's not just a place name or a cricket format. It's deeply embedded culturally and emotionally. It represents something very personal for many, but also collective values.
So seeing that name immediately after the operation linked to a Class 41 filing for entertainment.
It felt like a line was crossed. A fundamental disrespect, maybe. Not just for the operation, but for the symbol itself and the sacrifices it invoked. And then came the explanation from Reliance.
Ah, yes. The junior employee defense. That really didn't go down well, did it? The reaction online was, well, sarcastic doesn't even begin to cover it.
Yeah, the memes basically wrote themselves. A junior employee did it, sure, and I climbed Everest before breakfast.
Exactly. It just seems so unlikely for a company that size dealing with something so obviously sensitive.
You'd assume there are processes, checks, and balances for this sort of thing. For a company like Reliance, with huge resources, significant legal teams, the idea that a junior person could just unilaterally file something like this, it strains belief.
It definitely raised questions about their internal controls. Or maybe just their awareness of public feeling.
Could be both. Either way, it didn't really quell the anger.
So, facing this massive public backlash, what did they do?
They folded pretty quickly.
Very quickly. The next day, May 8th, they put out a statement. Application withdrawn.
And the reason given.
The official line was that it was filed inadvertently by a junior person without authorization. They emphasized they had no intention to actually trademark the name.
They really leaned into the whole respect angle too, didn't they? Calling Operation Sindoor a symbol of bravery, invoking their India First motto.
It was damage control, pure and simple. A rapid retreat to try and stop the bleeding, reputationally speaking. They clearly understood how bad it looked.
But, and this is important, their withdrawal didn't make the whole issue disappear. Not at all, because as we mentioned, there were those other applications.
Right. As of May 8th, when Reliance pulled out, there were still, at least 5 others pending?
Yeah, I remember seeing names like Jairaj T, who filed for Operation Sindoor, Sindora Udam, and someone named Udam filed on May 8th too.
And the statuses in the trademark registry were things like send to Vienna codification or formalities trick pass, meaning they were still being processed.
Exactly. It showed that while Reliance might have backtracked under pressure, the underlying impulse to grab that name was still there from others, and the system allowed it.
So stepping back, what does this whole episode tell us? It feels bigger than just one company making a mistake.
I think it is. It's a flashpoint, really. A collision between commerce, culture, and national pride.
Yeah.
Think about what a trademark is. It gives you exclusive rights to use a name in a commercial context. That Class 41 filing points directly towards creating entertainment content.
Like movies or shows. And Geo Studios has done patriotic content before, right? Like distributing Yuri.
Precisely. So the pathway seemed clear. Produce content based on Operation Sindoor, but the timing here was everything. Doing it, or appearing to plan it, literally hours after the operation was announced, while the nation was still processing the Pahalgam attack and the military response.
It just felt wrong to so many people.
Yeah.
Exploitative.
That seemed to be the overwhelming sentiment, like trying to profit from grief and patriotism simultaneously.
You mentioned Yuri. That film was successful, people connected with it, but this felt different.
I think the perception was different. Yuri came later, framed perhaps as telling a story of heroism after the dust had settled somewhat. This felt like trying to claim ownership of the raw event itself, almost before it was fully understood. Opportunism versus remembrance, maybe.
That's a good way to put it. It felt like opportunism.
And the public reaction was basically a huge warning sign. A reminder that some things, especially things tied so closely to national identity, sacrifice, maybe even trauma, aren't just fair game for branding.
The power of that reaction was something else. Social media really amplified it. Someone tweeted something simple like, "The power of social media is real," followed by fire emojis.
Yeah. And it felt true in that moment. It was like this immediate collective pushback.
It absolutely demonstrates the power social media now wields in holding even the biggest players accountable. It's a powerful feedback loop.
And maybe it raises the question again. Should names like Operation Sindoor have better legal protection in India? You mentioned other countries do this.
Yes, the U.S., for example, protects terms like Navy SEALs. It prevents precisely this kind of situation where sensitive military designations become commercial fodder. It's a conversation worth having here, I think. Does the current law adequately reflect public sentiment on this?
It seems like it might not. It could potentially head off future controversies.
Possibly. And then internally, for companies like Reliance, there's the lesson about that junior employee. Even if it was true, what does it say about oversight? Right. How does something so sensitive slip through? Does there need to be better training, clearer ethical guidelines about what's appropriate to trademark, especially around national events?
These are definitely questions large organizations need to ask themselves after something like this. It points to potential gaps in communication, decision-making, or just, reading the room. Establishing clear ethical guardrails seems crucial.
Well, whoever that junior employee is, they've kind of entered corporate folklore now, haven't they? Part of the corporate scapegoat hall of fame.
It is a slightly absurd footnote to a serious issue, doesn't it? One person, allegedly acting alone, sparks this whole national debate.
So, wrapping this up, the Operation Sindoor trademark saga was a whirlwind. Corporate move meets intense public backlash, leading to a swift retreat, all in about 24-48 hours.
A real case study in the power of public sentiment, particularly when national pride and cultural symbols are involved. It's a clear cautionary tale for businesses in India.
And it really underscores the power that you, listening, have. That collective voice, especially online, genuinely forced a change in direction from a massive corporation. Operation Sindoor wasn't turned into a brand name.
No, it remains what it should be, a reference to a specific military action, imbued with the complex emotions surrounding it.
So maybe the final thought to leave everyone with is this. Keep watching that intersection between major national events and commercial interests, and consider what other symbols or moments do we collectively feel should remain outside the marketplace. It's an ongoing discussion, really. Where do we draw those lines?